Why Kodak told him that though?
Because his statement in his statement is why.
Bro, what you mean?
Damn, Triple
Because
OD.
been 3
obviously
years.
you ain't going to court because you was going to court.
Triple OD.
Every time you go to court, they gonna let us know you going to court. So
I can't go to court for immigration if I got an open gun
what
case,
about
fool.
the gun case, bull?
I can't go to court for immigration if I got
They
an
will
open
give
gun
you
case.
your
man.
time.
And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff.
Wack 100's been screaming snitch for years, loud, wild, and at anybody who moves. But now, a leaked wiretap linked to 21 Savage just hit the internet, and it's got people dragging that old 2005 federal gun case back into the spotlight like it just happened yesterday. Now imagine this, the loudest dude in the room, always pointing fingers, calling everyone a rat.
Why Kodak told him that though?
Because his statement in his statement is why.
Then boom, out of nowhere, a wiretap pops up and folks are suddenly like, yo, is that a badge sticking out of Wack's jeans? One little slip like that can flip your whole rep upside down. And here's the wildest part. People are saying it was 21 Savage who dropped the tape. Not some random leak, but a straight up strategic move. Word is, he held onto that recording waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff.
And really, who could blame him? Wack's been on 21's neck for years, calling him a snitch, claiming he worked with ICE to fix his papers, and even dragging him into that YSL mess. But 21, he kept it chill. Gave Wack a little shade here and there, laughed it off, then kept it pushing.
All right, so yeah, after you got that message, after you got the message, you hit up Big U's wife. You said, sis, 911. One sec, let me get Solo. And you gave him a heads up.
What I tell him?
You said, one sec, let me get Solo. He needs to leave. Bad. In caps, all caps. He needs to leave.
I said so bad, right?
But this, if he really leaked that wiretap, this ain't no petty move. This is a straight up power play. No yelling, no back and forth. Just let the audio do all the talking. After all those sneak disses on Clubhouse, 21 clapped back without even saying a word. And when you start piecing it all together, it's looking like Wack might have been running a long game, throwing accusations left and right just to keep folks distracted from his own name. Let's not pretend this is some new suspicion either. Folks been side-eyeing Wack for a minute. Just a couple months ago, Big U got hit with RICO charges. And before he turned himself in, he went on camera and straight up said Wack 100 was working with the FBI. That ain't hearsay. That's a straight up bombshell. This whole situation might be exposing something way deeper than anyone expected. Here's where it all starts getting real suspicious. Way before the RICO charges made headlines, before the feds pulled up, before any court docs hit the internet, Wack 100 already knew the storm was coming. He messaged Big U's wife with something like, 911, he needs to leave. What kind of warning is that? That's not some innocent heads up. That's a straight up red alert. How you tipping off someone's wife before her man even gets picked up? That don't sound like a good deed. That sounds like somebody who already had the drop.
And I'm going through it. I said, yeah, I don't know nothing about this. He said, man, y'all too tight. I see Big U signature. I see other signatures. I'm reading it. And what shook me was the police issued device to communicate with law enforcement in form of a BlackBerry.
Like he got info from the inside. People started whispering fast. No, wait, did Wack know about the raid before the feds even moved? And the second Big U got locked up. What did Wack do? He didn't stay quiet. Nah, he hopped online and started running his mouth like crazy, throwing shade, flipping blame, saying Big U was the one out here doing foul moves, even accused him of using a BlackBerry to talk to the feds. But all that really did was make people squint even harder at him. Like seriously, how does Wack always seem to know what's about to happen? How's he always standing near the drama but never getting burned himself? That warning call to Big U's wife? That didn't scream concern. That felt like he was trying to stay one step ahead of something he might have helped spark. That's when folks really started changing their tune about Wack. Maybe he's not who he pretends to be. Maybe he's sitting cozy between both sides, playing the game from the middle. But if you really want to understand how deep this rabbit hole goes, you got to spin it all the way back to 2005. Word on the street is Wack 100 and his brother got pulled over in Texas. Nothing wild at first, just speeding. Routine stop, regular questions. Cops asked where they were headed, and Wack told them they were driving to a funeral in Oklahoma. But when the officers asked to search the whip, Wack said nope. So what happened next? The dogs came out, and just like that, boom, K9 sniffed out a shotgun, a rifle, and a loaded pistol inside the car. All three strapped and ready. But here's the part that had everybody like, whoa. Wack and his brother were already convicted felons when they got stopped. So riding around with loaded firearms, that's a straight-up federal offense. No excuses, no loopholes. That's supposed to mean serious prison time. Cases like that usually bury careers, but Wack, he posted bail and dipped right back to LA like he was untouchable. And then?
I'm gonna give you some time. I don't know, 24 hours, 12 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 1 hour. I don't know. I'm gonna give you some time though, Gunner, for you to go ahead on and confess.
Crickets. For 2 whole years. Not a single peep. No trial, no legal back and forth, no media coverage. Then out of nowhere, the whole thing just disappeared. Case dismissed. And not for the usual reasons either. There wasn't any mention of dirty cops or bad evidence. The court tossed it in the interest of justice. Now wait, anybody who knows the legal game knows that phrase don't just show up for no reason, especially not when felons are caught riding dirty with weapons. That line usually means one thing. Somebody gave something up. Could have been info, could have been names, but something definitely changed hands. Years later, Wack tried to brush it off, said the case got thrown out because the search was illegal. But that was straight cap. The public records were out there, and guess what? There wasn't one single mention of an illegal search. Just case dismissed, clean and quiet. Too clean. But here's where it gets real interesting. The timing. Just a couple years after Wack's charges disappeared into thin air, his former boss at death row, Suge Knight, started catching major pressure from the feds. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Suge got hit with a gang injunction. And it wasn't just him. His whole crew was getting cooked. Wiretaps, raids, names popping up in paperwork all over the place. But Wack, nothing touched him. No charges, no raids, not even a whisper of his name in any legal files. While Suge's whole empire was getting shredded piece by piece, Wack stayed floating, untouched, unbothered, and running his mouth all over the internet. Makes you wonder what really happened behind those courtroom doors. He wasn't mentioned, not even once. When the paperwork was snatching up names left and right, Wack 100 stayed like a ghost. Then came that wild kidnapping case tied to the Main Street Crips. Yeah, the one that somehow involved Shaq. And out of nowhere, a name pops up in the transcripts. A mystery guy called Back, making sketchy calls and dropping messages. And guess what folks started saying? That Back was just Wack, using a fake name to slide under the radar. Now fast forward to today. Wack's all over the web, dragging Gunna, BG, Brick Baby, 21 Savage, even J Diggs, acting like he's the moral police for the streets. But let's be honest, that 2005 case still smells off. You don't just stroll away from federal gun charges when you've got 3 loaded weapons in the whip, especially as a convicted felon, unless something major went down behind the scenes. And now, almost 20 years later, a video pops up where people swear they saw what looked like a police badge in Wack's wallet. That's the moment that got folks spinning back. Because it ain't just about the badge, it's about everything it brings back up. That case that vanished out of thin air, that courtroom silence, and that question nobody ever answered. What did he trade in to walk away squeaky clean? Wack built his whole identity around one word: snitch. That's his favorite go-to. Anytime a rapper cuts a deal or ends up behind bars, he's the first one on Clubhouse yelling, "He told." He tried it with Gunna, claiming he had a whole 2-hour interrogation tape and even threatened to leak it if Gunna didn't confess. But surprise, he never dropped a thing. Just more noise, more bluff, and 0 receipts. Then he came for BG, a man who already did over a decade locked up. Wack claimed he folded, even though there's no paperwork, no proof, no nothing. Matter of fact, one of BG's old cellmates even stepped up and said BG held it down and never folded once. But Wack didn't blink, didn't slow down. Just kept throwing that label around like he's never had a shady past himself. He stays loud but never shows a single receipt. And yeah, if you're just scrolling and not paying attention, it looks like Wack's holding some kind of street code. But the folks really watching, they see the pattern clear as day. Every time things start getting hot around his name, he gets extra noisy, calling people out, flipping the spotlight, doing whatever it takes to shift the heat. And this next part got people side-eyeing heavy. Wack records everybody, like everybody. Phone calls, convos, all of it. That's not street behavior, that's something else entirely. Real ones don't need recordings unless they're trying to keep leverage or hand it off to someone. And now, folks are starting to connect the dots. Some of the same rappers Wack pulled into Clubhouse ended up catching charges after running their mouths on that very app. Take Loose Cannon, for example. Went on Clubhouse, started talking too much, shared stuff he definitely should have kept to himself, and boom, got hit with charges not long after. So now the streets are asking the real question. Was Wack setting dudes up? Was he making these messy viral clips on purpose, loud enough to catch views and prosecutors' attention? It ain't adding up, and people are finally starting to talk louder about it. The way Wack drags people into wild arguments, then boom, like clockwork, some leak just happens to drop at the perfect moment. Nah, that ain't random. It's way too smooth, too timed. It might not be cold hard evidence, but that pattern, it's starting to scream louder than words. At some point, you gotta stop acting like it's just coincidence and really step back. That leaked wiretap wasn't the beginning. That was just the spark. The real heat's been simmering for years. From that 2005 gun case that disappeared like magic, to Wack knowing about those RICO charges before the feds even pulled up, to mystery wiretap names, that alleged badge flash. And now, the way he records every convo like he's building a secret archive, now people are starting to ask the real question. What if Wack ain't just exposing folks? What if he's been setting them up the whole time? This ain't just messy anymore. This looks calculated. The deeper people dig into the timeline, the clearer it gets. Wack might have been hiding in plain sight from the jump. Because if you think about it, all these folks he's been calling rats, where's the paperwork? Where's the actual proof? Most of the time, it's crickets. But the one name that keeps popping up whenever cases disappear, charges drop, or the feds move with perfect timing: Wack. And that's what's got the streets on edge. This ain't just about proving if he's linked to law enforcement. It's about asking the bigger question. What if he really is? What does that mean for the culture? For all the stories we believed? For the platforms and mics handed over to people who might be playing both sides of the game? It changes everything. And folks are finally starting to wake up to it. People online like to joke, say Wack's just out here stirring the pot for clout. But this ain't funny no more. Not when real lives, real reputations, and real freedom are getting wrecked behind all this sneaky behavior. He's been yelling snitch louder than anyone. But now, people are giving him the serious side eye, asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud. Was the loudest one in the room wired up from the start? Because if that's the case, everything changes. The street game, the industry moves, the loyalty we thought was solid, it might have been fake this whole time. Years of secrets, setups, and silence, all possibly controlled by the same dude pointing fingers. And the wildest part, Wack still ain't falling back. He's out here louder than ever, throwing names around like he's untouchable. But the next thing he says, that might be the one piece that blows this whole situation sky high. So if you've been riding with this story, don't check out now. Drop a comment, hit that like button, and smash that subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because trust, this story ain't slowing down anytime soon. See you on the next one. And believe this, it's only getting crazier from here.